Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with some Spright gameplay. We had a little bit in my dedicated and updated Spright combo guide, which I'll go ahead and link below, but I wanted to actually have a separate gameplay video, as well as, of course, I mostly just wanted to play with this deck on ladder myself as well, a little bit more. So here we get to lead our combo with starter for red, because I already have both the Nimble Beaver as well as Spright Blue in my opening hand. I feel a lot better about beginning my combo line with starter for a negate, which of course will help against the Biru, Ash Blossom, so on and so forth in a hand like this. This opponent is going to be on K9 Crystron, by the way. We're going to go into the Gigantic here, and our opponent's going to use the Imperm on the Gigantic. Good on them to wait. I think a lot of people would have used it on the Sprint, which I think also would have been fine, but I think they were more worried about the Gigantic potentially summoning out Blue or Swap Frog here. But we do already have the Blue in hand, so I'm going to go for Blue and Jet, and then I'm going to link away Nimble Beaver plus Gigantic into the Elf. Now I'm going to go Elf effect in order to revive the Angler. And I'm actually going to overlay Blue plus Jet in order to make the Gin Buster. And then now I'm going to link away the Spright Red with the Nimble Angler in order to make IP Masquerena. So we still have a Monster Negate going into our opponent's turn, and we can access another one through the Elf. Also, with the set starter, which I'm going to fire off right away, we can go for the Carrot. Now my opponent's going to fire off Ash Blossom against the starter, which I will use the Gin Buster against, because I want to have a Spell Trap and a Monster Negate, and again, we can still get a Monster Negate if we Elf Revive the red here. So here's starter for Carrot. They're going to go Case for K9. I am going to use Spright Carrot to negate that, as well as using the Elf in order to revive the red. So now we still have the Monster Negate as well as the IP Masquerena. And they're going to end up activating the Crystron Inclusion to add Tristaros. I'm going to actually activate IP Masquerena before they have a chance to normal summon Tristaros. That way I can use Little Knight in order to banish the Inclusion before they have a chance to summon Tristaros and potentially use its effect. Now, by summoning the Tristaros, which again, I made Little Knight earlier to avoid this, now my opponent has put an effect on the field where if I respond to their monster card effect with an effect of my own, they're going to get a free Synchro Summon. However, as they reveal Jokel plus Noroi, I definitely am going to need to use my red here anyway. We're going to activate and tribute away our Elf to negate and destroy the Jokel. Yes, my opponent will get to use Tristaros, however, I'm not going to chain Little Knight, because here's the thing. Tristaros summons from deck, and then immediately after the effect performs a Synchro Summon. That means whatever they summon from deck doesn't get to use the effect. However, if I had chained Little Knight and banished both itself and the Tristaros, the Solfachord still would have been summoned, and then there would have been no Synchro Summon, because there would have been no Tuner. Which means at the end of this chain link, Solfachord would have dumped 2 more cards from the opponent's deck to the graveyard, and they would have continued to be able to combo. And I, again, obviously want to avoid that. So the play here is actually to let the Elescalatus get summoned. Red will negate and destroy the Jokel because we sent away the Spright Elf. And now when they go to activate Elescalatus, now I'm going to use Little Knight, because now they can't use the graveyard effect of Tristaros to destroy this and summon out 2 more level 5s. They can add back Inclusion, but that doesn't do anything because they've already used the effect. End phase, we're going to get back the Little Knight, they get back their Ellie Skelly. And at this point, I'm just going to put a ton of damage on board for lethal. I'm not playing Gamma Burst, because I don't really like it. I think it's a little bricky, which is why my Jet didn't search there, because we've actually already seen all 3 copies of our Spright starter. But you don't need Gamma Burst to be able to OTK in a lot of scenarios, including this one. I'm going to make the Gigantic with the Elf, so that way it's got 3,200 attack points. Well, 2,700 for now, but once the Elescalatus gets removed, it'll be at 3,200. I can bounce Swap Frog and then use my regular normal summon on it. That way I can send Ronin plus another Swap Frog and be able to overlay for the Onibimaru Soul Sweeper. With its ability to banish any monster until the next end phase, it's so handy for OTK scenarios like this. This is actually only 7,900, but because my Gin Buster already inflicted 500 damage on their turn, it's going to be enough for lethal. Alright, there is duel number 1. Let's go into the next game. This one's going to be a going second game against Ogdoadic Mitsurugi, which I'm still reeling from my top 8 loss to Ogdoadic Mitsurugi in the recent Deckmaster Cup. Not the latest one. By the time this video goes out, there will have been another one, actually. And who knows, maybe I'll have topped that one, too. Hopefully. That's the plan. Anyway, they're going to lead with the Ritual. We're going to chain Fuelos, but they have a Called By, so not going to be an easy game here. They're also going to throw out the Dimension Shifter, which, believe it or not, I actually don't really care about. Spright, yeah, it's got Elf and Swap Frog and stuff, but in the grand scheme of things, you can play through D-Shifter really easily. So much so that a lot of Spright decks actually choose to run Dimension Shifter. Alright, here they're going to go for the Murakumo, tributing a Wosu. They're going to discard their last card to add back the Wosu, and then pass back to me. That is so fine, because I have the Nimble Beaver, and now the Carrot as well. I'm very confident I can very easily find lethal here. We're going to lead with normal summon Nimble Beaver. They're going to activate Murakumo. I'm just going to discard this Angler, and summon out my other Angler from deck. We get the Carrot as well, and I'm going to actually overlay for the Gigantic Spright right away. I don't need my Gigantic Spright to be at 3,200 attack points, because this time I'm going to OTK my opponent with the number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito. And we're going to, of course, need to get as many bodies on board as possible for that. So we're going to overlay the blue plus the jet into the Shadow Mosquito. Now, in order to be able to OTK with Shadow Mosquito, there's a couple of things you need. You need to have Shadow Mosquito plus 3 other monsters. And your opponent needs to control a monster with, at the very least, 2,700 attack points. That's because that would total up to 8,100 damage between 3 attacks. So we're going to attack with Ninja Shadow Mosquito, put on the hallucination counter, take no damage. Now we're going to run all of our Spright monsters into the Murakumo. Sure, our monsters will get destroyed and will take damage, but they're going to get burned for 3,200 before the battle goes through. So even if the last, running into your opponent's monster the last time would normally be lethal for you, it's actually not going to be, because again, your opponent will take the burn damage before you take the battle damage. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind, as well as this whole OTK line when you're playing with Spright. Again, there's only so many scenarios where it's relevant, but that's fine, because even if your opponent doesn't have a big monster in play to OTK with the Shadow Mosquito, well, then you can reference what we did last time and just get rid of whatever they have with Onibimaru Soul Sweeper, and then just swing in for lethal with a bunch of bodies and, enough damage to finish them off. Still got a couple more games for you. Here is the next one. This duel is going to be up against Tenpai. I haven't really seen Tenpai a lot lately, which makes sense given all the consistency hits that it suffered. They were deserved. They were definitely deserved. Okay, so we won the coin flip here, meaning I'm not necessarily suspecting a going second deck. They'll lead with normal summon Ronin, special Spright Blue. They're going to draw and Mockbird us, which is actually totally fine. One of the biggest advantages to playing Spright is that you can completely ignore Droll and Mockbird. Spright Blue and Jet are your only in-archetype cards that search, so even though I won't get the Jet search here, I'm still going to be able to full combo. I'm not even going to end up summoning Spright Jet here, because I'm going to have enough bodies to full combo without needing the extra level 2 there. Plus then I can actually hold it and search off of it on a follow-up turn. Alright, so we have accessed the Swap Frog engine thanks to Gigantic. Gonna link into the Spright Elf F in order to revive, and here my opponent's gonna throw out a Ghost Bell. Now the funny thing is, I was actually gonna summon Spright Jet up to this point, because Elf would have revived Blue, Special Jet, make the Gin Buster, right? And then we can still link off the Ronin plus Swap Frog for IP. However, now that the Ghost Spell has negated the Elf, I'm going to hold on to the Jet because I'm not going to need this extra body. I'm just going to link the Swap plus Ronin into IP, and then set Impulse and then pass. Oh, we'll summon the Ronin as well. Yeah, there we go. Now we'll pass. Again, no need to summon Jet here. I'll save it for a follow-up turn, because we don't really have another rank or link 2 that we want to go into going into our opponent's turn, except for a Gin Buster, but again, that needs level 2 Dark monsters specifically. Okay, so they're going to lead with the normal summon Hydra. I'm going to chain Red, tributing the IP, which I planned to revive with Elf. So they activated Droplet, discarded their hand, and then conceded, which I thought was really, really funny. So even if that had all resolved, right? They go Droplet, discard 2, negate my Elf and my Red, Hydra resolves, adding Sangen Kaimen, but then I can just use Dominus Impulse in order to negate that. So, yeah, I obviously they didn't know I had Impulse face down, but maybe they weren't confident playing into my face down card. Maybe they misplayed badly enough that they wanted to concede. Not super sure what happened there, but we'll definitely take the dub. All right, last game before we go into our deck breakdown. And that last game is going to be against Solfachord Yummy, which is a deck a variant of Yummy that is actually very, very successful. I think when it first came out, I called it Tier 3, which I was definitely underestimating that deck when I did. I haven't tried it out myself because I haven't crafted the Solfachord URs, but being able to add, so much engine and negates to your Yummy deck is definitely worth looking into for sure. I think Solfachord Yummy in reality is like upper tier 2, maybe even actually still just the bottom of tier 1. Right up there with Mitsurugi Yummy. It's really, really close actually, a lot more than you might think. Now here we're going to get met with a pretty brutal hand trap, and that is the Herald of Orange Light. Because it not only negated our Spright Jet, but it also destroyed it. I could have played through it negating our Spright Jet. I could have gone into Sprint, I could have gone into Gigantic. But negate and destroy is going to be a lot more rough. So we're going to have to pass here. They're going to leave with the Marshmallow Yummy. I'm not going to Impulse that because I don't have a trap card in my graveyard, so Impulse would have just negated and not destroyed, right? I think I'm just normal summon to Marshmallow. I will Impulse the Minion, which forces them to have another Extender in their hand. Crossing my fingers, that's not going to be the case. But unfortunately for me, they do just have the Solfachord Solfegia, which now they have Cutia, they can add the Primoa, and at this point I'm just going to concede because on top of having access to their Solfachord stuff, they do just have Yummy plus a level 1 non-tuner, so that's full Yummy combo with the Minion up right there, and obviously I don't have any hand traps or anything left in my hand to be able to combat that with. Yeah, if Orange Herald, if it wasn't Orange Herald, if it was Imperm or Valor or something, if it didn't negate plus destroy, we were totally still going to full combo there. It's also really unlucky that our Dark Beckoning Beast got negated there, because if we'd been able to add opening, activate opening effects to discard the Angler to revive, the discarded Angler would have then summoned out multiple Nimble Beavers from our deck. So we could have gotten access to those bodies without even needing to go into Sprint, but stars were just not aligned for us on this one. All right, let me show you the deck list and then we'll finish things off here. All right, so here is my deck list for Pure Spright. This is the same one that I used in the guide. It should be card for card the same, if I remember right here. Like I said in my Spright guide, which again, if you want a very, very in-depth combo and full breakdown walkthrough of Spright, definitely check that out, linked below. But I really do think that this quote-unquote pure build is probably the best way to play the deck right now, just because having these very, very powerful level 2 engines is going to do more for you in a lot of cases than having a whole other archetype, right? Like something like Live Twin Spright might be a little bit more consistent, but at the end of the day, I think you're looking for not only consistency, but also power as well. And Spright with Everything Unlimited is a very, very consistent deck. It also gets to play the Dominus Impulse, which is really, really good in this metagame. You really want to be playing hand traps that are actually trap cards, so that way you're not triggering your opponent's K9 Izuna. On top of that, as mentioned, we have immunity to Droll and Lockbird, which not only means that any Droll our opponents resolve against us will be pretty much a moot point, but also we can proactively use Droll and Lockbird on our own turn if we get hit with like a Maxi or a Foolos or something. There's also Moltres Army Perulia is a lot more popular in the current metagame, and Spright obviously is going to be summoning a lot from hand, making Moltres Army Perulia actually a pretty prominent card to be used against us. So yet another reason why we love having Droll and Lockbird. This deck is a little bit more susceptible to it than other pure Spright decks might be, because we're playing Dark Beckoning Beasts and Opening. So obviously if you lead with those, you're going to want to do more searches before you fire off the Droll. But again, as far as like in archetype stuff goes, it's just blue and jet, and you do not need to resolve both of these effects in pretty much every Spright hand in order to be able to full combo. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the gameplay here, and as again, if you want to see more, I have a 2-hour guide on Spright that, as mentioned, will be linked below. Thank you, as always, to everybody for watching towards the end. Let's also move on to the outro so we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.